Page 62. Exercise B. Vocabulary.
Categories of animals.
Look at the categories and photos in Exercise A. Listen and repeat. Invertebrates.
A bee. A spider. A worm.
Fish.
A goldfish. An eel.
Amphibians.
A salamander. A frog.
Birds.
A parrot. An eagle.
Reptiles.
A crocodile. A snake. A lizard.
Mammals.
A horse. A lion. An elephant. A rabbit. A monkey. A sheep. A dog. A mouse. Mice. A dolphin.
Page 63. Exercise D. Spotlight. Read and listen to a conversation over lunch at an international meeting. Notice the spotlighted language.
Nice picture. Hey, are those your cats?
Yeah, they're my babies. We've had the gray one a long time. She's almost 17 now.
No way. She still looks so healthy. What about the white one?
We think he's pretty young. Actually, he was hanging around outside our house all summer, and it didn't seem like anyone was taking care of him. We felt sorry for him, so we took him in.
Lucky cat. He looks like a member of the family now. But I'll bet the older one wasn't too crazy about having a new cat around.
Well, he thinks he's still a kitten. He just wants to play all the time. But I'd say she puts up with him pretty well. She's really patient.
From the picture, it looks like she's the one in charge.
Definitely. She doesn't fool around. If he gets too rough, she knows how to put him in his place. Hey, do you have any pets?
No, we don't. When we feel like being around animals, we go to the zoo.
Actually, I'm not too crazy about zoos. I just don't think animals should be cooped up in small cages.
Normally I'd agree with you, but our local zoo isn't like that at all. The larger mammals have plenty of outdoor space. It's pretty humane, I think.
Well, that's good. I guess we shouldn't just assume that animals in captivity aren't treated well.
Page 64. Exercise A. Grammar Spotlight. Read the social media posts. Notice the spotlighted grammar.
David Suchet, June 30th, Seattle, USA. I really feel sorry for animals that are mistreated. Does anyone else get as fed up as I do about their inhumane treatment? In my opinion, animals should never be killed just for sport or entertainment. Hunting, bullfighting, and any other sport that involves the killing of defenseless animals should be completely banned. And the idea that monkeys or dogs have to be used in medical research seems ridiculous to me. What do you all think? Is inhumane treatment of animals ever justified?
Reiko Yamamoto, July 1st, Atami, Japan. Maybe you're right about killing animals for sport, but don't you think the needs of people should sometimes be considered? For example, it seems clear to me that small mammals like mice or rabbits have to be used for medical research to make sure new medications are safe. It just can't be avoided. Otherwise, new medical treatments might not be discovered. We can't fool around when it comes to medicine.
Marie Colbert, July 1st, Lyon, France. I agree with Reiko, people first, but that doesn't mean animals should be treated inhumanely. I'm sure research methods could be improved. And recently I was reading about factory farms that raise chickens or beef cattle, and I was shocked at how crowded and filthy the conditions were. I know animals have to be slaughtered for food, but I'm sure they could be raised more humanely.
Page 66. Exercise A. Vocabulary.
Describing pet.
Read and listen. Positive traits.
Playful. Affectionate. Gentle. good-natured, low maintenance, loyal, devoted, protective.
Negative traits.
high-strung, excitable, costly, destructive, filthy, high maintenance, aggressive.
Page 66. Exercise B.
Listen to activate vocabulary.
Listen to each conversation and complete the chart with the pet and its pros and cons. Use the vocabulary. Listen again if necessary. Conversation 1.
Honey, there's this guy Ethan who works in the mailroom at the office.
Yeah?
Well, he's looking for a good home for his cat. Apparently, his wife is allergic.
Uh-huh.
I felt sorry for the cat, so I went over to his place, and the cat's amazing. And you know how much I've always wanted one.
Uh-oh.
No, seriously. What would you think of adopting it and taking it in as our cat?
I'm not so sure. I've heard they shed and their hair gets all over everything. On the furniture, on your clothes. I couldn't put up with that. Who wants to clean up cat hair all the time?
Well, this one's a Siamese. They're not supposed to shed their hair as much as other cats. And you know, cats don't need much. They're pretty easy to take care of.
I suppose that's true. My grandmother had one. And I have to admit, her cat was very sweet and loving.
Conversation 2.
Oh, isn't she a cutie?
I guess.
Look at her with those long ears. Aren't you a cute little rabbit?
Look, I'm not so sure a rabbit is a good idea.
Come on, the kids would love her.
Yeah, and they'd scare her to death. Rabbits get frightened really easily, you know.
But the kids have always wanted a rabbit, and everyone says rabbits are great with kids. They're not dangerous at all.
Well, I suppose taking care of a rabbit would teach them a little responsibility.
I'm sure it would. They'd have to feed it every day, and they'd have to learn not to scare it.
Conversation 3.
What would you think about getting a parrot?
What? You're kidding, right? You know they cost an arm and a leg.
Who cares? They make great companions. Once they get used to you, they're really friendly and love attention.
I don't know. I've heard they can do a lot of damage. They like to chew on things like wooden chairs.
Well, not if you keep them in a cage.
And I've heard they require a lot of care and attention. Between feeding them and cleaning the cage, it's a ton of work.
Well, just think about it, okay?
Conversation 4.
You know, there have been 3 burglaries in our neighborhood in the last month. I think we should get a big watchdog.
Are you serious? We don't need a dog.
If we had a dog and someone tried to break in, it would make a lot of noise and scare him away.
To be honest, I think a big dog would be more trouble than it's worth. It could be very hard to control, and then we'd have to worry about it hurting the kids.
Oh, come on. It depends on the kind of dog you get. Most big dogs are active and fun-loving. They love to play with kids. And all dogs are very reliable and attentive to their owners, both adults and kids.
Page 66.
Pronunciation booster. Page 145.
Exercise A. Listen and practice. 1,
I'll be going to the airport after dinner.
2,
It's 10 to 2.
3,
Look at that.
4,
I saw an eagle.
5,
That's more than I need.
6,
Pets are no trouble.
7,
Is it black or white?
8,
Where's your parrot?
9,
He's been gone for days.
10,
They have long arms and legs.
11,
She laughed and cried when she heard the news.
12,
We stayed out late and went dancing.
13,
He wore a black suit and she wore a green dress.
14,
What does he mean?
15.
It's in his bag.
Exercise B.
In the following sentences, circle the words you think will be reduced.
1,
Alternatives can be found for medical research on animals.
2,
A lot can be done to make conditions better on factory farms.
3,
Some animals are raised to be used for medical research.
4.
Do we have to ban hunting and bullfighting?
Now practice reading each sentence aloud and listen to check. Page 67. Exercise A. Read and listen. Notice the spotlighted conversation strategies.
Do you think a poodle would make a good pet?
Actually, I'm not so sure. I've heard they're really high maintenance.
In what way?
Well, for one thing, they need a lot of attention. I'd consider getting a guinea pig instead.
Why a guinea pig?
Well, they're very low maintenance. And besides, they're really gentle.
But what if you were looking for something a bit more affectionate than a guinea pig?
Then I'd get a cat. They're affectionate and they're low maintenance.
Page 68. Exercise A. Listening warm-up. Vocabulary. Animal social groups.
And protective physical features.
Read and listen.
A flock of birds. A herd of cattle. A school of fish. A pack of wolves.
Physical features.
Claws, hooves, a hoof, a beak, horns.
Page 68. Exercise C.
Listen to defined terms.
Listen to part 1 of the lecture to answer this question. What is the difference between an animal that is a predator and one that is prey? Exercise D.
Listen for examples.
Listen to part 1 of the lecture again. With a partner, find an example from the listening to explain each of the following. Part 1.
In today's lecture, we will continue our talk about animal behavior. Much of animal behavior can be explained as instinct. That is, behavior that is already programmed into animals at birth. It is behavior that does not need to be learned. For example, animals instinctively reproduce and care for their young, and they instinctively behave in certain ways to survive in nature. One of the stark realities of the animal world is that most species fall into one of two categories: predators, those that hunt other animals for food, or prey, those hunted by predators. In fact, many animals actually play both roles in nature, sometimes as predators and sometimes as prey. For those that are prey, instinct drives them to behave in ways that protect them from predators in order to survive. For example, fish swim in huge schools, moving almost as one organism as they search for food. By traveling in a group, they can confuse predators. But more importantly, this behavior increases the chance that predators will choose to eat the fish that are not swimming in the school. In order to hunt, predators also often travel in groups or packs. They work together and use their combined intelligence to single out their prey from the herd or the flock, increasing the chance of success and ensuring their own survival. Hunting in a pack also makes it possible to kill prey that are larger than the predators are. For example, while one lion couldn't kill a young elephant alone, several lions hunting together could. Instinct also drives animals to either lead or follow. In a herd, or even in a pack of predators, some animals are born to be more dominant than others. Animals will often fight each other for that top position. For example, in a herd of horses, the strongest or the smartest horse may play a more dominant role in the herd and lead the others, which is crucial for everyone's survival. Another aspect of the predator-prey relationship is what is called a fight-or-flight response. When predators approach their prey, the prey may instinctually respond in one of two ways. One way is to stand its ground, using hooves, horns, claws, or teeth to fight back and drive the predator away. However, if it can't do that, it will try to get away as quickly as possible.
Exercise E. Exercise E. Listen for details. Now listen to Part 2 of the lecture and answer the questions. Part 2.
Much instinctual social behavior can be seen in the animals humans interact with regularly, including household pets. For example, parrots are very social birds whose instincts drive them to live in flocks. In addition to the protection that a flock provides, birds in a flock interact with each other socially and clean each other. When a parrot is singled out to be a pet in someone's home, they begin to treat their owners as part of their flock, making them the object of their attention and affection. Let's turn now to the difference between instinctual behavior and learned behavior. Learned behavior, as opposed to instinct, is behavior that an animal has to learn through experience. In nature, young animals learn from observing older animals and through experimentation. For example, for wolves, hunting in packs comes from instinct, but they also use their intelligence to learn to hunt more successfully. They learn from experience that some techniques work better than others. And, of course, we see this in animals that are trained by humans. For example, a dog obeys its owner's command to sit or come because it learns that when it does what the owner commands, it gets a reward, such as food or affection. And because it's a dog's instinct to be part of a pack, dogs crave social interaction with the humans closest to them. Interestingly, whether a dog's instinct is to be dominant or not can affect its training. It can be difficult to put up with a dominant dog. So a more dominant dog requires its human owner to establish his or her own dominance over the dog, to show that the human is the one in charge, in order for the training to be successful. That's all the time we have today. We'll continue tomorrow with more on learned behavior in reptiles and amphibians.
Page 70. Exercise B. Reading. Read the stories. What do you think ensured the survival of the buffalo in the U.S.?
The will to make a difference. We live on a planet that is rich in biodiversity. There are millions of different species of animals and plants across the globe. Yet many species are disappearing at an alarming rate, as the habitats in which plants and animals live together are reduced year after year. Currently, 11,000 species of plants and animals, including over 180 mammals, are at risk of becoming extinct because of this loss of habitat. Once gone, their disappearance is irreversible. They cannot be brought back. In its fast development as a nation over the last 300 years, the United States has experienced some dramatic shifts in animal populations. Here is the story of a dismal failure and a remarkable success story. The passenger pigeon. Early European visitors to North America told amazing stories about huge flocks of passenger pigeons that darkened the sky for hours as they flew south for winter. They were easy targets for hunters, delicious to eat, and useful for making feather beds. Estimates put their total population at about 5 billion, the same number as the population of all birds combined in the U.S. today. By the mid-1800s, the hunting of passenger pigeons had become a large-scale commercial enterprise, supplying East Coast cities with a steady supply of birds. Around 300,000 a year were sent to New York City alone. At the same time, their habitat and food sources were shrinking as forests were cut down for farming and construction. In addition, approximately 250,000 birds were killed simply for sport each year. Making matters worse, a female passenger pigeon laid only one egg each year. By the turn of the 20th century, any attempts to save the passenger pigeon were too late. The last surviving pigeon died in the Cincinnati Zoo in 1914, a species lost forever. The American bison, or buffalo. Before European settlers came to North America, there were more than 50 million buffalo roaming in huge herds across the continent's central flatlands, which are today known as the Great Plains. These strange-looking, magnificent creatures, with their furry heads and shoulders and distinctive horns, were an important resource for food, clothing, and shelter for Native Americans living on the plains. And they played an enormous part in the plains ecosystem, sustaining other animals and plants. Weaker buffalo provided food for predators like bears and wolves. Herds attracted birds that picked at buffalo fur for insects. Thousands of hooves walking over the landscape prevented aggressive plants from taking over. In the 1800s, as new settlers moved from the east to settle the west, whole herds were slaughtered, often just for sport. Buffalo were considered an obstacle to the settlers' desire to grow crops and raise cattle. The resource that sustained Native Americans for centuries began to disappear. By the end of the 1800s, there were as few as 750 buffalo remaining. Many people were shocked that the buffalo, long considered a symbol of the West, had been allowed to come so close to extinction. Fortunately, efforts to save them were begun in 1905. The remaining herds were gathered together and protected. Their number steadily increased to today's population of about 350,000. What conclusion can we draw from these stories? In the case of the passenger pigeon, extinction was occurring so fast that even with efforts to save them, it was too late to act. However, we can see that with the American buffalo, conservation efforts can make a difference if they are begun early enough.
Page 73.
Review. Exercise A. Listen to Part 1 of a radio program. Choose the phrase that best completes each statement according to the program. Part 1.
As part of our 4-part series on animal-assisted therapy, today's report by Tina Rotenberg focuses on some special human and animal relationships.
When people become quadriplegics, they lose more than control of their arms and legs. They lose control of their lives. Each day is a challenge to regain more control and become more independent. Many quadriplegics use an electric wheelchair to move around, but family or friends cannot always be there to assist them. In recent years, capuchin monkeys have been trained to help improve their lives. These intelligent and dexterous monkeys have hands similar to human hands. They assist quadriplegics by performing practical tasks such as serving food, opening and closing doors, turning lights on and off, and retrieving objects. Capuchins are dependable and devoted helpmates, giving their partners independence, dignity, and companionship.
Page 73.
Review. Exercise B. Now listen to Part 2 and choose the phrase that best completes each statement. Part 2.
Children who have autism, Down syndrome, and other mental or physical conditions are often not responsive and have difficulty interacting with people and learning to talk. But in Miami, Florida, children like these are swimming with dolphins in a special program that is showing some promising results. Dolphins are extremely intelligent and gentle animals, and they show a special fondness for children. When the children swim with them, the dolphins are playful, and they make noises that sound like singing. Scientists theorize that because children have a natural capacity for joy and playfulness, this time spent together helps the children relax and open up. After swimming with dolphins just 2 or 3 times, some children can speak their first words. Many of these children also become more interactive and respond better to people after therapy.
Page 73. Test-taking skills booster. Page 156. Listening completion.
You will hear part of a lecture. Read the paragraph below. Then listen and complete each statement with the word or short phrase you hear in the lecture. Listen a second time to check your work.
One of the stark realities of the animal world is that most species fall into one of two categories. Predators, those that hunt other animals for food, or prey, those hunted by predators. In fact, many animals actually play both roles in nature, sometimes as predators and sometimes as prey. For those that are prey, instinct drives them to behave in ways that protect them from predators in order to survive. For example, fish swim in huge schools, moving almost as one organism as they search for food. By traveling in a group, they can confuse predators. But more importantly, this behavior increases the chance that predators will choose to eat the fish that are not swimming in the school. In order to hunt, predators also often travel in groups or packs. They work together and use their combined intelligence to single out their prey from the herd or the flock, increasing the chance of success and ensuring their own survival. Hunting in a pack also makes it possible to kill prey that are larger than the predators are. For example, while one lion couldn't kill a young elephant alone, several lions hunting together could.